Hey guys, tonight we are heading back over 1,000 years, right into the heart of a bustling 10th century West African trading city. Long before smartphones, before streetlights, before anyone ever thought about charging for Wi-Fi, you wake up to the sound of drums echoing off mud brick walls. A slow, steady rhythm that means the market is opening. The smell of wood smoke sneaks through your window slit, mixing with the tang of last night's millet porridge. There's a moment where you consider rolling over and ignoring the day. Then remember that skipping market day means no fresh honey, no gossip, and no chance to see whether the traveling storytellers have arrived yet. You probably won't survive this market without getting dusty feet, a bit sweaty, and possibly ripped off at least once, but that's part of the fun. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And if you want to make this a little community moment, drop a comment with your city and what time it is where you are watching. There's something magical about imagining all of us scattered around the world, listening together. Now, dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You pull yourself off the sleeping mat, rub your eyes, and notice that the first light is creeping across the courtyard. Your neighbor is already up, sweeping dust out of her doorway with the same broom she's used for years. The bristles worn soft as feathers. The sky above glows peachy pink. The kind of sky that makes you wish you could paint. Though if you tried, you'd probably just invent finger painting centuries too early. The air is still cool enough to be pleasant, though you know in a few hours you'll be wishing for shade. A rooster crows somewhere in the distance, as if trying to get credit for the sunrise. Children dash by, carrying empty calabashes, off to fetch water before the well gets crowded. The rhythm of the morning feels slow, unhurried, but everyone knows the market. You stretch, slip into your light wrap. Today you're going with the blue one. Not too flashy, but not the one with the stain from that spilled palm oil either. As you tie it, you mentally check what you need: salt, a few cola nuts for later, maybe a new amulet if you can find one that promises protection against scorpions without cost. On your way out, you stop by the little shrine near the door, placing a pebble as a quiet thank you to whatever local spirit kept your house safe through the night. You don't really know if the spirit listens, but you figure it can't hurt. Historians still argue whether this kind of offering was purely practical or deeply religious today. Stepping outside, you feel the packed earth under your bare feet, still cool from the night. The narrow street is waking up too. A man drives two sleepy goats toward the main road. A woman balances a clay jar on her head as if gravity were off. You fall into step with a few other early risers heading toward the market square. Someone cracks a joke about hoping the salt trader remembered to bring enough today. Last week he ran out by midday and 3 women nearly started a civil. As you walk, by the time you NEA, someone behind you starts humming a tune, an old work song. Probably, and before long, 3 others join in softly. The melody is low, repetitive, the kind of tune that makes your shout. The city gate looms ahead. A thick rectangle of sun-baked clay with carved wooden beams. And you can already see the first little cluster of gossipers parked right by the entrance. They look like they've been there since before dawn, leaning on their staffs, trading news about who brought in the fattest goat and which caravan arrived from far-off Gao last night. You get closer and catch fragments of conversation. Rumors of a merchant bringing rare blue beads from across the desert. Complaints that last year's rainy season was better. And a whispered prediction that prices for cola nuts might rise before sunset. The guards are there too, relaxed but watchful. They're not exactly intimidating. One is chewing slowly on a stick of sugarcane, but they still give everyone the once-over as they pass. You wonder if they are checking for troublemakers or just judging who wore the best wrap today. A few charms hang over the gate, little bundles of herbs tied with leather straps, meant to keep bad spirits out of the city. One is so old it looks like a very determined bird built a nest in it. But no one dares remove it. You pass through the gate, stepping onto the main road that leads straight toward the beating heart of the market. There's an odd little thrill to this moment, like stepping onto a stage where everyone has their part to play. A man behind you mutters a quick prayer under his breath, and you can't help whispering one yourself. Market day has its risks. From pickpockets to bad bargains. The road here widens, and you notice the first stalls starting to pop up along the sides. Even before you reach the main square, someone has spread a reed mat on the ground and is already displaying a neat little row of cowrie shells. Gleaming like tiny teeth in the sunlight, you crouch for a moment, letting the shells run through your fingers. They're smooth, cool, and strangely satisfying to touch. The trader watches you with a neutral face, waiting to see if you're serious or just wasting his time. You smile, shake your head, and move on. You still have plenty from last week. Further down, a pair of elders sit beneath a tree, gossiping like they own the road. They probably do, in a way. They wave at you lazily and ask if you've heard the news about the king's cousin. You haven't, of course. So they tell you that he was seen buying far too much honey yesterday. And clearly something festive is being planned. You grin and thank them, pretending that this is the most significant intelligence you'll hear all day. As you near the market square proper, the soundscape expands. There's a new layer of chatter, laughter, and animal noise. Goats bleat somewhere close by, and a donkey lets out a noise so spectacularly sad that it makes two kids giggle. The smell changes too. More smoke, more sweat, and the faint tang of dried fish. It's not unpleasant exactly, just lively. You take a quick detour toward a low clay wall where charms and protective amulets are being sold. The stallkeeper, an old man with a voice like gravel, shows you a necklace strung with tiny bones and dried seeds. He swears it will protect you from thieves, wandering spirits, and the occasional bad-tempered camel. You nod politely but keep your cowries in your pouch. Last time you bought a charm, it promised to keep you from getting sunburned. And you still ended up looking like overcooked millet porridge. Historians still argue whether such charms were truly believed to work or were just cultural theater for moments like this. Moving on, you notice how the road surface changes. Packed earth gives way to a more trodden, dusty square, big enough to hold what feels like half the world. Already, people are jockeying for position. The central area is filling fast with stalls, woven baskets of grain, stacks of bright indigo cloth, clay pots lined up like soldiers. It's a bit chaotic, but somehow everything finds its place, as though the market breathes and arranges itself. A drummer starts up again, this time with a more complex rhythm that signals the official start of trading. The beat is hypnotic, like a soundtrack meant to get you in the mood to spend. You catch yourself tapping your foot and laugh, apparently advertising by drumbeat works even in the 900s. You pause for a moment, taking it all in. The swirl of colors, the patterns of people moving, the faint shimmer of heat already beginning to rise from the ground. Somewhere nearby, a woman is laughing so loudly that you can't help but smile. The market feels alive now, and you can feel its energy seeping into your bones, quickening your step. Your stomach rumbles again, reminding you that the roasted yam stand isn't far. But first, you spot a friend near the entrance, already haggling furiously with a salt trader. He catches your eye, winks, and holds up a piece of salt like it's a rare gem. You wave back, promise yourself you'll stop by later, and finally step fully into the square, ready to be swallowed by the day. The first wave of market smells hits you like a warm, dusty blanket. Smoke from cooking fires, the sharp tang of fresh spices, and the unmistakable sour-sweet aroma of fermenting millet. You pause, inhale deeply, and feel oddly awake. The square ahead is a whirl of movement, bright cloths and bobbing baskets, a parade of colors and textures so dazzling it's almost dizzying. You weave your way past the first cluster of traders, their mats loaded with dried peppers, ginger roots, and chunks of salt that look like little white bricks. A woman calls out to you, waving a string bag of cola nuts. You crouch to inspect them, feeling their smooth, glossy shells. She sings the price, literally sings it, a melody that rises and falls like a lullaby. It's oddly hypnotic. You half expect her to end the song by tucking you into bed. You buy a small handful, because chewing cola later will keep you awake through the afternoon heat. And because her song makes you feel guilty for not buying more. As you move on, the smoke thickens. Someone is roasting spices over an open brazier. And the air smells like toasted pepper and something lemony. Historians still argue whether this was purely for cooking or doubled as an early form of mosquito repellent. Either way, it makes your stomach growl so loudly that a child walking by glances at you and giggles. You turn a corner and find yourself in the cloth section. A sea of indigo-dyed fabric drying on lines strung between posts. The colors are deep and velvety. The kind of blue that looks like it could swallow the sky. A dyer, his hands stained almost black, grins at you as if to say, "Yes, I know my work is gorgeous." You reach out to touch a piece, soft, still slightly damp, and cool against your fingers. There's a debate among scholars about whether indigo dyeing in this period was entirely local or partly imported knowledge from the wider Sahel trade networks. But right now you just think it smells faintly of earth and magic. The singing continues all around you, traders using chants to advertise their wares. Some are funny, some boastful, some almost flirtatious. It's like a marketplace turned into a choir. You pass a pair of women who seem to be competing to see who can sing their prices louder. And when one cracks mid-note, they both dissolve into laughter, pulling you into their mirth like you're part of the joke. You pause near a stall selling smoked fish. Its aroma so potent you can almost taste the salt on your tongue. The vendor, a wiry man with an impressive gap-toothed smile, gestures proudly at the neat rows of silvery bodies. You consider buying some, then remember that carrying it in the heat will make you smell like a cat's dream by the time you get home. You promise to come back later, though you know he's heard that promise before. Somewhere nearby, a group of children are clapping out rhythms with sticks, a miniature percussion section keeping time with the life of the market. One of them shouts a riddle at you, something about a goat, a river, and a clay pot. You fumble for an answer, get it wrong, and the whole group erupts in theatrical groans. You bow dramatically, and they reward you with laughter so loud it almost drowns out the nearby drumming. A little further on, you find yourself next to a basket overflowing with shea nuts. The trader cracks one open to show you the creamy fat inside, proudly explaining how it can be turned into oil for cooking, or, if you're feeling fancy, rubbed on your skin. You imagine going home gleaming like a royal statue and decide you might just buy some before the day ends. The crowd is growing thicker now. Traders from outside villages arriving late with their goods. A pile of onions tied together like ornaments. A cluster of dried gourds rattling like maracas. Even a shy boy with a tiny cage holding two parrots that look far too wise for their own good. The birds eye you suspiciously, as if judging your bargaining skills before you even open your mouth. You duck down a narrow lane between two stalls, your shoulder brushing against a hanging string of dried chilies. A gust of wind rattles them like beads, scattering a bit of dust into the air. The sun is climbing higher now, throwing the whole square into a soft, golden haze. For a moment you just stand there, letting the sounds wash over you. Songs, haggling voices, animal calls, laughter, and the constant heartbeat of drums. It's chaotic, yes, but somehow it feels ordered, like every voice is part of one enormous, soothing orchestra. You catch yourself smiling again, a little giddy from the mix of color and sound. There's so much to see, and you've barely made it past the spice and cloth sellers. Somewhere ahead, you know the gold traders will be setting up their scales, and your curiosity is already tugging you in that direction. You adjust your wrap, tighten your pouch of cowries, and step back into the current of people, letting the market carry you deeper into its noisy, fragrant heart. The crowd seems to thin just enough to let you through, and you find yourself standing at the edge of the gold trader's corner. This is where the real drama happens, or at least the most entertaining kind of drama you can watch without getting yelled at by an auntie for blocking the yam stall. The first thing you notice are the little scales, delicate as jewelry, dangling from cords. Traders sit cross-legged on mats, carefully balancing gold dust on one side. Cowrie shells are small weights on the other. The dust itself glitters like crushed sunlight, and for a moment you just stare, mesmerized. Imagine having so much gold that you can pour it like sugar from a tiny gourd. These people do it with the casual air of someone measuring flour for a cake. You sit nearby, pretending to adjust your wrap so you can watch longer without being too obvious. A heated argument breaks out between two men. One swears the other's weight is rigged. The other swears by his grandmother's grave that it isn't. Historians still argue whether market officials had a formal way of resolving disputes or whether it was handled by peer pressure and shouting matches. Judging by the crowd gathering, you suspect the shouting match will do just fine. Eventually, an older woman steps in, gives both men a look so withering that they sell the deal without another word. You can't help but smirk. It's a reminder that sometimes, no matter the century, one unimpressed elder can solve a problem faster than any bureaucracy. Nearby, a group of women are gossiping while they wait their turn. You catch phrases about a caravan that's been delayed. Some say it's because of bandits. Others claim the camels refused to move until they were fed extra dates. You picture a line of stubborn camels staging a sit-in and almost laugh out loud. The air here feels different, tenser, more serious. After all, gold is no small matter. You notice that some traders keep small charms tucked under their mats. Perhaps to bring luck or keep envy at bay. One man even sprinkles a little water on the ground before each transaction, murmuring something under his breath. It's strangely calming to watch, like a ritual cleansing before money changes hands. You lean in closer as a particularly rich transaction happens, a pile of gold dust so large it could buy a herd of cattle. The trader carefully divides it into two gourds, ties them shut, and hands them over as if passing a newborn baby. There's a hush for a moment. Then the normal chatter resumes, as if everyone silently agreed that yes, that was impressive, but life must go on. You find yourself daydreaming about what you would do with that much gold. Buy a new house? Hire someone to pound your grain so you never have to again? Commission a sculpture of yourself looking very dignified, maybe with an exaggeratedly heroic chin? You shake your head, grinning at the ridiculous thought, and move along before you get caught staring. Not far from the gold corner, there's a man sitting with a board game scratched into the dust. You recognize it as Mancala, and he's already halfway through a match with another trader, flicking little stones into pits with practiced speed. A small crowd has gathered, cheering softly when someone makes a clever move. You crouch to watch for a minute, realizing that nothing makes a market feel alive like seeing someone pause business just long enough to play a game of strategy under the sun. A girl walks by carrying a jar of honey balanced on her head, and the sunlight catches it so that it glows amber. She glances at you, raises an eyebrow as if to say, "Want some?" You're tempted, but you're still thinking about gold and how much of it you'd have to trade for enough honey to last the month. The mental math makes your brain hurt a little. By now, the air feels warmer, and the dust under your feet is starting to rise with every step. You can taste the grit on your lips, but you barely notice because the market's energy has hooked you. Somewhere nearby, someone bursts out laughing, loud and unrestrained, and the sound rolls through the square like a wave. It feels good, like the whole place is breathing in and out together. You decide to stand up and keep moving. There's still too much to see. And besides, you're starting to smell food again, which is the universe's way of telling you it's time for a snack. Ahead, the smell of roasting yams and sizzling something, probably goat meat, pulls you like a magnet. You give the gold sellers one last look, promising yourself you'll come back later just to watch the scales tip and glitter in the afternoon light. Then you slip back into the flow of the crowd, letting it carry you toward whatever delicious thing is smoking just beyond the next row of stalls. You don't have to walk far before the animal noises take over. Somewhere to your left, a goat is loudly protesting its very existence. And from the sound of it, the goat is winning the argument. You follow the noise until you arrive at the livestock section of the market. If the gold traders were the theater, this is definitely the comedy show. Goats are tethered in loose rows, sniffing each other suspiciously and occasionally trying to eat whatever is nearby, including, at one point, the corner of a trader's wrap. The trader swats at it without missing a beat in her conversation with a customer. Chickens scatter underfoot like living dust clouds, their feathers puffing as they dodge baskets and children. You nearly trip over a basket full of guinea fowl, their spotted feathers glinting in the sunlight like tiny polka dots. The seller grins at you, clearly amused, and offers you one at what you are sure is an outrageous price. You shake your head but promise to send your neighbor later. She's been talking about wanting one for weeks. Then you spot it, a tall, Lanky camel standing under the sparse shade of a thorn tree, looking like it deeply regrets coming to market today. Its expression is pure drama. The kind that says, "I am too good for this place." You can't help but chuckle. The camel flicks its ears at you as though to say it heard that. Historians still argue whether camels were as temperamental back then as they are now. But you're convinced the answer is yes. You make your way past the animals, sidestepping a very large pile of, well, let's just call it camel evidence. The smell isn't exactly relaxing, but it's part of the experience. A man with a parrot perched on his shoulder calls out to you, trying to tempt you into buying it. The parrot squawks something that sounds suspiciously like a market insult. You thank him but keep walking. Owning a bird that might shout at you during dinner seems risky. Finally, you come to the smoked fish sellers again, this time determined to buy before the best pieces disappear. The fish gleam silver in the sunlight, lined up neatly on mats. You crouch and choose a few small ones, haggling gently with the vendor. He tries to charm you with a story about how the fish were caught under the last full moon, which he claims makes them taste better. You smile and play along, though you suspect it's the same story he tells everyone. You wrap the fish carefully in a leaf and tuck them into your basket. Satisfied, the scent clings to your fingers, salty and smoky, and you secretly hope your neighbor will smell it later and be jealous. Feeling bolder, you turn toward a honey vendor whose stall seems to glow. The honey is kept in clay jars sealed with leaves, and when the vendor opens one, the scent is so rich and floral it almost makes your teeth ache. You buy a small jar, imagining it on tomorrow's porridge, and spend a moment admiring how the golden liquid catches the light. Somewhere nearby, a boy is selling firewood, stacking it into neat little bundles. Another trader next to him sells charcoal, her hands dusted black up to the elbows. You realize this market isn't just for luxury items. This is where everyone stocks up on the basics too. You stop to watch a brief argument between two men about whether a certain goat is truly worth its asking price. The argument is so passionate you half expect the goat to weigh in with its opinion. Eventually, one man storms off, the other shrugs, and the goat goes back to chewing on something that is definitely not food. By now, the sun is climbing higher, and you feel sweat prickling at the back of your neck. A breeze picks up, carrying with it a mix of dust, animal smell, and something cooking, probably grilled meat from the food stalls ahead. Your stomach growls in agreement. You decide that's enough window shopping for now. With your smoked fish and honey secured, you head toward the center of the market where the food vendors set up their fires. The air is thick with roasting smells, spiced steam, and the cheerful noise of people eating with their hands, talking over one another as if conversation is part of the meal. You smile to yourself, realizing you've barely seen half of what the market has to offer. And the day is still young. There's millet beer waiting, roasted yams, and maybe even a story or two from the traveling griots if you time it right. You adjust the strap of your basket, feeling its growing weight, and step forward, ready to give your taste buds their turn at the party. You squeeze into the food section, where the market suddenly feels like a festival. Fires crackle everywhere, their smoke mixing into a single fragrant cloud that hangs low over the crowd. People sit on low stools or squat in the dust, eating from shared bowls and laughing between bites. Your first stop is at a woman roasting skewers of meat over a bed of glowing coals. The smell alone is enough to make you forget everything else you plan to do today. She waves a fan over the fire, sending sparks into the air like tiny fireworks, and gestures for you to sit. You buy a skewer, and the first bite is perfect, tender, smoky, and spiced just enough to make your tongue tingle. While you eat, you listen to the conversation around you. A man nearby is telling a story about how his cousin once tried to trade a goat for a cow and ended up with neither. A tale that makes the whole group howl with laughter. Someone teases him about exaggerating, but he swears it's true. Next, you wander over to a calabash full of millet beer, cloudy and pale like morning mist. The vendor dips a gourd and hands it to you. The first sip is sour, fizzy, and unexpectedly refreshing. You pause to appreciate it. This is the taste of celebration, of deals made and friendships sealed. Nearby, someone is pounding fufu in a large wooden mortar, the pestle thudding rhythmically like a drumbeat. Children run past, chasing each other, their laughter weaving through the sound of pestle and drum. You think for a moment that this rhythm might be what happiness sounds like. Then you hear the music. At the far edge of the food stalls, a group of griots is gathering. One plucks at a kora, its strings sparkling in the air like drops of water. Another begins to sing, his voice rich and smooth, telling the story of a great hunter from generations past. People drift closer, forming a circle around them. You sit cross-legged on the ground, letting the song carry you. The griot sings of battles fought, of spirits who walk the forests, of the first market ever built under the blessing of the ancestors. Even if you don't catch every word, the melody holds you in place, and you feel as though time itself has slowed down to listen. As the song ends, the griot smiles and asks for a small gift in exchange for the story. People toss coins, a bit of grain, or even a handful of dried fish into his basket. You drop in a small piece of honeycomb from your purchase earlier. He nods in thanks, and you feel oddly proud, as though you've just helped keep history alive for one more day. Your basket is now heavy, your stomach pleasantly full, and your heart strangely light. The market hums around you, still busy, still alive, but you no longer feel like a visitor. You feel like part of it. On your way out, you pass the first merchant you saw this morning, the one with the dyed cloths. She recognizes you and asks if you enjoyed yourself. You tell her you did, and she smiles knowingly, as if she's heard that answer 100 times before. The sun is beginning its slow descent, and the market starts to shift into its closing rhythm. Traders are packing up their goods, sweeping the dust from their stalls, calling to customers for one last sale before the day ends. You pause for one last look over your shoulder. The colors, the sounds, the smells, all of it feels like it will stay with you long after you leave. You step away, basket in hand, heart a little warmer, stomach very full, and mind already wondering what tomorrow's market will bring. You take the long way back toward the center of the market, noticing how the air seems cooler now that the sun has started its slow descent. The crowd has thinned a little, but there's still one last stop you can't resist, the area where music and dancing break out most evenings. A man with a balafon, wooden keys laid across gourd resonators, sets up on a low bench. He tests each note with a soft tap, and soon a pattern of sound ripples out like a playful stream. Two women join him with calabash rattles, shaking them in sync, and before long a drum picks up the rhythm. The air practically vibrates with energy, and you can feel it in your ribs. Someone claps their hands, and a circle begins to form. Dancers step into the center one by one, hips swaying, arms lifted. It's not a performance meant to impress you, it's a conversation. The whole crowd answering with claps and calls. One child rushes in, spinning so fast he almost falls over, which makes everyone laugh and cheer. You're urged to join, and for a moment, you do. Your feet shuffle in the dust. Your hands mimic the clapping. And even though your movements are probably clumsy, no one cares. This isn't about precision, it's about joining the shared pulse of the market. When you step back out of the circle, you're breathless but smiling, sweat beads on your forehead, and you wipe it away with the back of your hand, realizing how alive you feel. Nearby, a griot you haven't seen before begins telling a tale, this one about a river spirit who fell in love with a fisherman. The story weaves together tragedy, comedy, and a little bit of mischief, reminding you of something you once heard about trickster figures appearing in myths all over the world. Historians still argue whether these shared characters hint at cultural exchange or simply the universal need to laugh at misfortune. The story ends with the fisherman and the spirit finding a strange kind of peace. And the griot winks as though to remind you that life is rarely tidy but often beautiful. People nod, satisfied. As twilight deepens, firepots are lit one by one, and the market glows in a warm, flickering light. The shadows seem to grow long and friendly, softening every edge. The smell of smoke mixes with the last of the roasted meat and spices, creating a haze that feels almost like incense. You notice a vendor selling carved amulets under the glow of a tiny oil lamp. He explains that one charm wards off bad dreams, another invites good fortune, and yet another helps make difficult decisions. You pick up the dream charm, why not, and he ties it to your wrist with a grin, saying you'll sleep under the ancestors' protection tonight. As the music slows, people begin to drift toward the edges of the square, heading for home or to stay with friends. Some traders lie down right where they are, planning to sleep near their goods until morning. You catch yourself stifling a yawn, lulled by the steady rhythm of the drums still playing somewhere in the background. The sky is now a deep indigo, pierced by the first stars. You glance upward, noticing how clear it is, how quiet the world feels once the drums pause for a breath. For a moment, the entire market seems to hold still. You can almost hear the earth cooling beneath your feet. Someone hands you a final sip of millet beer, a goodnight gesture you happily accept. You drink slowly, letting the warmth spread through you, your shoulders dropping just a little more with each swallow. You start to walk back through the market, basket in hand, the last embers of cooking fires winking like tiny constellations in the dust. The voices around you grow softer, blending into a single sleepy murmur. And just like that, the market feels less like a place of chaos and more like a giant living creature settling down to rest. Breathing deeply as night finally takes over. Night has fully claimed the sky now, and you find yourself lingering at the edge of the market, unwilling to leave just yet. The air is cooler, with a slight breeze carrying away the last curls of smoke from the cooking fires. The stars above are so bright they look close enough to pluck from the heavens and tuck into your pocket. You decide to follow the faint sound of conversation toward the outskirts of the market, where the traveling caravans rest for the night. This is where the true storytelling begins. People gather around low fires, sharing tales from far-off regions, their faces glowing in the firelight. You sit near a group of traders from the north. They speak of salt mines so vast that the walls glitter like glass in the lantern light. One man swears he saw a camel refuse to walk past a certain dune because the desert spirits guarded it. Another insists that was only a superstition, though he admits, with a grin, that he still avoids that dune, just in case. A little farther down, a woman tells of gold fields where nuggets can be found lying in plain sight after a rainstorm. Historians still argue whether such accounts were exaggerated to lure more traders or if West Africa truly had that much accessible gold in the 10th century. Either way, it's a story that lights up the eyes of everyone around the fire. Someone else begins humming softly, and soon a quiet song rises. A lullaby meant for the weary. You can't help but relax as the melody floats into the night air. It feels like the market itself is singing you to sleep. Before you know it, someone hands you a shared bowl of spiced peanuts. They are warm from being roasted over the fire, their skins slightly charred, and they crunch satisfyingly between your teeth. One trader jokes that peanuts are the real currency of the market, since they always seem to make new friends appear. The firelight throws dancing shadows across the ground, making every movement seem a little magical. You catch yourself staring into the flames, your mind wandering lazily. It strikes you that this is how news traveled, how history itself was passed down, not in books, not yet, but in moments like this, with firelight on faces and voices carrying into the night. You overhear a dispute about which route is safest for the next caravan leaving at dawn. Some say the eastern road is quicker but riskier because of bandits, while others argue the southern route is longer but safer. The debate is lively, full of good-natured teasing, and you notice how even disagreements here are softened by laughter. In the distance, the last drumbeat of the evening sounds, slow and deep, like the market's heartbeat slowing for the night. Dogs curl up near the fires, and children nod off on their mothers' laps. The world has become smaller, warmer, quieter. You lean back, feeling the earth beneath you, and think about the day you just lived. The colors, the sounds, the tastes, all of them are still spinning gently in your mind. It's as though the market has wrapped you in its own blanket, tucking you in under the stars. Someone tells a final story before sleep, a short one about how the first market was blessed by a wise woman who lit a fire so bright that even the spirits came to trade. Everyone laughs softly, and then the group begins to break apart, each person retreating to their mats, their bundles, their dreams. You stand, brushing the dust from your legs, and realize your own eyelids are heavy. The market has given you everything you didn't know you needed today: food, stories, laughter, and just enough magic to make you believe you'll dream of this place again. As you walk back toward your resting place, the sounds of the night deepen, the soft hiss of wind in the grass, the distant lowing of cattle, the rhythmic chirp of crickets. It's a lullaby all its own. One you didn't know you wanted but now never want to stop hearing. You settle down near a quiet corner where the air feels especially cool. The stars overhead seem to nod approvingly. You lie back, listening to the market's final sigh as it falls asleep, and you let yourself drift. The first sound you notice is not a rooster, but the soft shuffle of feet on packed earth. Someone nearby is already awake, stoking a fire until it glows red, coaxing the flames back to life. You blink and sit up slowly, feeling the cool air of early morning and the faint dampness of dew on your clothes. The market is stirring, but in a completely different rhythm than yesterday's chaos. Before the noise and bustle begin again, this is the calmest hour. Traders whisper to one another, voices low and slow, as if reluctant to wake the world too quickly. Smoke rises in thin, straight lines, catching the first streaks of dawn light. You wander quietly to a nearby fire where a woman is brewing a thin porridge from millet. She smiles, handing you a gourd full of steaming liquid that smells faintly nutty and earthy. You sip it slowly, feeling it warm you from the inside out. The drink is simple, almost bland, but comforting in a way that feels perfect for this hour. As you sit, you watch the market come back to life piece by piece. A trader rolls up the sleeping mat he used as a pillow. A pair of children run toward a water jar to wash their faces. A man carefully checks his bundle of goods, counting them with the same care you imagine a king might count his gold. Some of the long-distance caravan traders begin harnessing their camels, their movements efficient and quiet. The animals groan, kneel, and finally rise, looking slightly offended at being asked to start so early. Someone jokes that camels always look like philosophers forced to wake up too soon. And you can't help but laugh under your breath. A traveling scholar, his robe still dusty from the road, opens a leather-bound book and begins reading aloud to a small circle of listeners. You lean closer and catch fragments of poetry in a language you half recognize. Historians still argue how widely literacy was spread among traders at this time. But seeing this little gathering makes you suspect it was more common than many think. The soft light of dawn gradually reveals the market's colors again, the dyed cloths, the wooden stalls, the baskets stacked like little towers. It feels like watching a painting slowly fill itself in. You notice a group of older women sitting together, already spinning cotton into thread. Their hands move with quiet confidence, twisting and pulling, their rhythm almost meditative. It's strange how peaceful the whole place feels, knowing that in just a few hours it will return to full, noisy life. Your stomach growls, so you wander back to the porridge woman, who this time offers a bit of flatbread with a smear of honey. You tear off a piece, chew slowly, and think about how this is the most grounded you've felt in days, just you, the market, and the first meal of the day. The sun edges higher, spilling gold across the earth. People begin talking louder, laughing again, and soon the quiet magic of dawn starts giving way to the practical business of the morning. A man passes carrying a basket of dried fish on his head, and you catch a whiff of the salty air that will soon dominate the fish section again. Before you leave, you take a last slow walk through the square. It feels like saying goodbye to a friend. You notice little details you didn't yesterday. A carved post marking the center of the market. A patch of grass where the earth never seems to wear bare. A mural painted on a nearby wall showing a legendary hunter with his bow raised. You stand there for a moment, committing it all to memory. You realize this is no longer just a market you visited, it's a place you know. A place you will carry with you. As the first shouts of the morning traders ring out and the dust begins to rise again, you take one last deep breath and step away, feeling the warmth of the sun at your back. The day is just beginning. But for you, the story is coming to a gentle close. The market is now fully awake. A new day humming into existence as though yesterday never ended, just folded quietly into the next page. You linger on the edge for a moment, soaking in the soundscape, the thud of pestles pounding grain, the call and response of early bargains, the soft bray of a donkey objecting to its load. You take a slow final lap through the lanes, greeting faces you now recognize. A merchant with a scar across his cheek waves you over, pressing a small dried date into your hand with a wink. For the road, he says. You pop it into your mouth. Its syrupy sweetness sticking to your teeth. You pause at the cloth seller's stall. The very first one you saw yesterday morning. She's already unfurled new patterns. Their colors brilliant in the early light. She teases you for not buying yesterday. Then drapes a piece across your shoulder so you can see how you'd look as a trader. You laugh softly, enjoying the wait and the feel, and promise to come back, though you both know this might be goodbye. In another corner, the griot you listened to the night before is seated on a low stool. Tuning his kora, you stay just long enough for him to nod at you, acknowledging your return. It feels strangely intimate, as though you have been folded into the story he carries. As you make your way toward the edge of the square, you notice the rhythm of the place changing once again. The morning chaos is starting to smooth into its steady daytime flow. You realize that you could stay here forever, spend days, weeks, years, watching this endless cycle of buying and selling, storytelling and singing, dawn and dusk, but eventually you would still have to leave. You pause near a quiet well, dipping your hands in to wash away the dust. The water is cool, and as you watch the ripples settle, you feel as though the market is blessing you one last time. A trader passes by, humming the same lullaby you heard by the fires last night, and you smile, letting the sound anchor the memory. You step beyond the final stalls and look back. The market is alive as ever, but already the previous night feels like a dream, one you'll carry with you. You imagine telling this story to someone else one day, maybe even around another fire far from here. The thought makes you smile. The sun climbs higher, and you finally turn toward the horizon. Your basket is lighter now. Most of the food has been eaten, but somehow you feel heavier in the best possible way. Filled with everything this place has given you. As you walk away, the noise of the market grows softer, fading into a background murmur. Dust clings to your sandals, and you find yourself humming without thinking. The rhythm of the chorus strings and the drums still moving in your chest. You realize that this has been more than a day in the market. It has been a conversation, a lesson, a dance. It has been history come to life under your feet. And as the road stretches ahead, you feel ready for rest, ready to close your eyes and let the memories settle like the market dust after a long day. The road is quiet now, just you and the soft crunch of your steps. The sun is warm, but not too warm. Its light like a blanket laid gently across the land. Behind you, the market keeps beating, its heart still strong. But for tonight, it no longer needs you. You imagine laying out your mat in some shady grove nearby, your basket at your side, the air full of the faint smell of wood smoke. The earth feels cool beneath you, steady and patient, as though it has been waiting to hold you up. Your eyelids are heavy. The sounds of the day replay softly in your mind. The laughter near the food stalls, the song of the griots, the hush of dawn. Each sound grows slower, quieter, until they feel like distant echoes fading into the night sky. Above you, stars begin to appear one by one. You let them guide your thoughts, tracing invisible lines between them, forming shapes and patterns until even those drift apart. The last thing you hear is the faint call of a night bird somewhere far away. And then even that sound melts into silence. Breathe slowly now. The market will still be there tomorrow. Still alive, still waiting. For tonight, though, you can let go. Let the warmth of the firelight you remember, the rhythm of the drums, the comfort of full stomach and tired feet guide you into sleep. And as you finally close your eyes, you can almost feel the market exhale with you, settling into the same deep, steady rest. Good night, traveler. May your dreams be filled with color, music, and the soft hum of a 10th century market that will always welcome you back.